is Friday, April 4th, coming at you from Chilton Studio at the University of North Texas. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get into it, business as usual. Good evening, I'm Evanson Franklove. Most of the long-awaited tariffs were finally imposed on Wednesday. This has sent the markets all over the world in a spiral. The Trump administration established a 10% baseline tariff on nearly every country. Places like China, Vietnam, and Taiwan are likely to experience steeper rates. They also have announced reciprocal tariffs to anyone who responds with a tax of their own, which China has already done. This could be the start of a trade war. The U.S. stock market has tumbled in result of the chaos. The S&P 500 fell almost 6%, which is the worst it's done since COVID. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted around 5%, and the NASDAQ Composite was almost 6% lower. Despite all the decline, stocks of companies in food, healthcare, and necessities saw increases. Businesses like General Mills, United Health, Costco, and Clorox rose at least 2%. An interesting start to the second quarter, to say the least. Seth Wickman is in the studio with someone who can shine a little light on this subject and others.
Thank you, Evanson. I'm joined here once again by Dr. Mark Evers. So good to see you, man. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Last time we talked, we saw the market kind of already anticipating these tariffs. And now the day has come. These tariffs are a reality as of Wednesday, and we have been seeing extreme declines since then. And I just kind of wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? Where is the investor's mindset at right now? Where should it be at? And what is the reason the market is tanking so bad right now?
Yeah, so like we talked the last couple of times, tariffs have been a big drag on what's coming. Like a lot of uncertainty around it, even affecting Fed policy. And we've seen today and yesterday, the day of reckoning is what we maybe want to call it, right? Tariffs came, and now we have certainty. And the certainty is they're big tariffs against a lot of countries. So much so on TV, Trump showed the list of countries that and what the tariffs they have against us are, and the retaliatory tariffs we're going to impose against them. And we've already seen some concessions. We got today, early this morning, Vietnam has announced a deal. And as a result, Nike stock went up today. Well, why did that happen? Because Nike makes their shoes in Vietnam. So there's less of a tariff restriction on the shoes, right? And tariffs can cause prices to increase. Now, that's not always going to happen everywhere because there's competition in the marketplace. But tariffs, especially in the short term, until the supply chains change, tariffs can cause inflationary pressures. And so today, it's interesting because Trump suggested that the Fed should cut rates to help the economy out, and that the chairman should stop playing politics. But Trump played politics with tariffs, so now he's wanting the Fed to bail him out by lowering rates.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the Fed has already said we're fighting inflation right now. So now you introduce something into the mix that's inflationary, and right on cue, Jerome Powell said, "No, we're not going to cut rates. We're gonna hold a wait and see approach. We're gonna see what kind of inflation results from these tariffs, and then we'll react. We'll take action." So there was a little bit of optimism in the middle of the day that the Fed might do 4 rate cuts this year, but it still appears to be maybe we're only going to do those 2 quarter-point cuts. So the market responded in kind. There was a brief midday kind of reprieve, and then it just flushed the rest of the day down.
Right.
So sentiment is negative. It's very bearish, as we would call it.
Yeah.
There's an old adage that says bulls go up the stairs, bears go out the window. So what does that mean? The market goes up steadily, like staircase, right? But when it goes down fast.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that 2 days, 10% down across a broad sell-off across the board, and most industries were affected. There are a few that weren't, right? And so, but most are.
Yeah, despite all the bad, you mentioned it briefly, Nike went up, as well as food companies, healthcare companies, and just basic necessity companies, despite the bad, they went up a little bit. Can you talk to me about why that is?
Yeah, anytime we see a big pullback in the market, the money still moves somewhere. So it could go into cash, or it could go in what we call defensive stocks. And these are companies that people basically buy no matter what. Like, you need them no matter what. And you got to remember, the tariffs are only going to impact companies or people when we buy goods from those other countries where the tariffs are imposed. If they are American companies and these companies are making products in America, those products aren't affected by the tariffs.
Right.
So those companies are going to have the opportunity to compete and keep their prices low. What does that mean? Well, it's hard for businesses to pass on price increases unless everybody does it, because competition keeps prices lower. So what's happening in the market is they're saying, hey, these companies aren't going to be as profitable because they can't pass on all these tariffs. They're going to have to eat the cost of these tariffs on some level. So the value of these companies, the future earnings, are going to go down, and we're seeing the stock market react. Now, what do we do? How do we react as investors? Well, you know what? As a young adult, this might be a great opportunity for you to start adding, because we've seen some, ever since the election in particular, we've seen the market rally, and then the last couple of months it's been tough, and then the last 2 days have been big decline, right? So that's okay. It could be an opportunity to buy quality companies that are on sale. It's also an opportunity for all investors to look at their portfolio and consider what allocations they have. Is it time for them to rebalance their portfolio? One of the things we don't want to do is react in a way where we just sell everything and get out and hide, because it's hard to time the market. I mean, it could keep going down. I'm not going to tell you it's going to go up next week. It would be great if it did, and if not, again, more buying opportunities if you're trying to get into the market. Now, if you're a retiree or you're close to retiring, that's not comforting, because, hey, you need the cash to operate. So again, it's an opportunity to reevaluate what we're doing. This external shock that's coming to the market is causing a reaction. It's been negative. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out long term.
Right, yeah, it definitely will be.
But we'll be okay.
Yes.
This economy is resilient. We survived COVID.
Yes.
We can survive some tariffs.
Yes.
And who knows, maybe in the long run, we'll have American manufacturing recover, and that could be a good thing overall for the economy. It could be good job producers. And not only that, but there are still things in the Trump administration that they're doing that could be positives for businesses. They're cutting regulations. There could be some more tax cuts that are coming down our way potentially in the next 6 months to a year. So those things are still on the horizon that could be positives. Tariffs are definitely one of those things that could create a negative impact for a lot of businesses, especially those that import items from all these countries where the tariffs got imposed. So, yeah.
Okay. So let's put all that aside and let's talk about something that I wanted to ask you about, especially in times like this. I feel it's important for students like me or just people who want to be financially responsible. How can you set up a budget?
Yeah, and so Seth, one of the things I like to do with budgeting, you can get in the nitty gritty, and it can be a hard process, and we do it in our course, FIPL 2770. Every student leaves with their own budget. So if you want to take that class and get a granular budget, go for it. But one of the best things I like to do is recommend to people to pay themselves first. But it's this idea of reverse budgeting. And so what does that mean? Line up your goals, the things that you want to accomplish, set money aside for those things first, and then live off the rest. We look at our needs, we look at our wants, and then we look at things like luxuries and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we always want to put money aside. I recommend 10 to 20% in an emergency fund of your budget until you build up about 3 to 6 months of your expenses in an emergency fund. So do that first. And so that's kind of that first 20% bucket, that emergency fund goal. The next, I would say 30%, you want to look at your own personal goals that you have. Things like, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to start saving for your own retirement at some point? A car, those kind of things. Use that next 30% bucket to do that. And then the rest of your money, that 50% that's left over, that's your everyday living expenses.
Yeah.
And then what happens if you do your budget that way in a reverse manner, you don't have to feel the guilt that might show up when you're at the grocery store going, oh, should I really buy this item? Or you're at the store, Nike store, and buying shoes. Should I buy these shoes? Well, if you've already saved ahead of time and you put money aside for your goals, then you have the permission to spend everything else. So it creates this, because sometimes budgets can be restrictive. The word budget even sometimes is like a cuss word in some people's eyes. Yeah, I don't want to do a budget. But if you set up this reverse budget and you pay yourself first, then you have permission to live off the rest. And it's a very liberating and freeing experience to do it that way.
All right. So that is going to do it for us. Once again, thank you so much for joining. You always give us such brilliant insight. But I'll send it back to you at the desk, Evanson.
Thanks, Seth. Tariffs could also be the reason grocery prices are on the rise. New York Senator Chuck Schumer explains the impact.
Everything's going to go up. Groceries, medicines, cars, gasoline, furniture, clothing, you name it, it's going to go up.
This increase could affect imported food items such as seafood, chocolate, and coffee, which has already faced a price increase around $1.10 this year. Since some countries are major importers for U.S. food, experts say grocery prices as a whole could go up a little over 3%. Tariffs aren't just affecting grocery prices and stocks. TikTok negotiations could be approaching a roadblock. President Donald Trump extended the deadline for the sale of TikTok by 75 days. It's the second time this year that the president extended the deadline for the app's ban. Trump and his administration say that they are making progress on finalizing a deal to maintain TikTok in the App Store. But today, China officials indicated that tariffs could prevent a deal from being done. With 170 million U.S. users on the app and its lucrative impact on the American economy and small businesses, there's still hope that TikTok will remain available in the U.S. A bit more locally, we've got a lot going on in the Denton business world. All day today, shops on the square in downtown are celebrating First Friday, a monthly tradition around here. Some of the businesses involved include LSA Burger, Miss Angeline's, the UNT's Collab, and more. Live music, art shows, and specials last all night, so there's still time to take part in this event. I know I'm going to stop by the Yellow Dog later to join in on the mocktails and painting event they're hosting. Denton businesses are always hosting interesting events. A little closer to campus, Lucky Lou's is hosting a crawfish boil tomorrow from noon until 6. The event benefits Go and Friends with Benefits, which support the Denton community. They're going to have live music, a gumbo contest, a cookout, and drink specials. While some local businesses are thriving, others are feeling the pressure from all of Denton's construction. Let's check with our reporter, Chloe Boyder, who's got some more on the construction.
Thanks, Evanson. As you can see, construction around the city has halted due to the rain. But because of that, businesses like Howdy Doody and Mr. Chopsticks on Scripture Street are waiting for customers to come back. Road closures are making it difficult for people to get in and out of the parking lots around these businesses. Denton expects to finish Scripture Street next January, but with delays like this, we don't know the exact timeline yet. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Chloe. To find out how Denton's construction and the rise in grocery prices has impacted local business, our segment anchor Paisley McGee spoke with the owner of the Froth coffee bars. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Paisley. I'm a part of Business as Usual, and I'm here with...
My name is Mark. I'm the owner of Froth Coffee Bar.
And we're going to be asking some questions to get to know Froth a little bit better. All right, so for the first question, can you talk about when Froth was established here in Denton?
So this location, we opened in 2022. We were the first tenant in this complex, so we were kind of the pioneers of this building. But yeah, renovations were pretty crazy. I don't know if you can see behind us the mezzanine. That was kind of an undertaking in terms of being able to get a second level on this in this space. But the mezzanine and having that extra seating for all the students was a big deal for us. We wanted to make sure that we had that being on a college campus and knowing that, you know, we're going to have primarily college students coming in here and you know, working. So that was kind of a, you know, bigger goal of ours, was to provide that extra seating for people.
Has anything changed for this company in 2025, like the cost of ingredients, materials, tax?
Yeah, I mean, just with everything, inflation in terms of everything from the price of coffee to milk to eggs, I'm sure you've seen in the news. We have a lot of, you know, breakfast stuff, which is a lot of eggs. So yeah, I mean, those costs have gone up. I try to always keep my costs, like if I think it's going to be a short-term thing, I always try and keep my costs the same. I don't try and pass that along to my customers. Now, if I think it's going to be a prolonged thing, then unfortunately we'll have to. But you'll see in a lot of businesses, they'll just immediately, you know, raise their prices, you know, extra $1 for an egg or something like that. And I try not to do that, knowing that I'm on a college campus. We do have college students that are on a budget for the most part. So I always try and keep my costs as low as possible for as long as possible.
How has Froth been impacted by Denton's construction, road construction?
Right, yeah, tons of construction. We've had construction on Avenue C. We've got a new big, huge apartment complex going in right next door. We definitely see a direct hit in terms of, like, if there's a road that's closed right by us, like Avenue C or something, you know, just across the way, you can immediately see the hit in traffic for sure. Just now, we do have a lot of people that walk, you know, here. It's walkable, especially for people in the dorm rooms. But in terms of people that drive here that maybe live a little bit further out, it definitely impacts them and may impede them. You know, oh man, I'm going to run into traffic. I know my normal route that I have to get there is you know, a lot of construction, or it might be blocked completely. So I definitely will see a pretty big hit in terms of, you know, direct correlation between road construction and a decrease a little bit in traffic. So yeah, unfortunate, but I mean, you know, when you're in business long enough, you know that these kind of things happen and that it's temporary, and you just kind of have to live through it and know that it's for a better, greater good in the end.
How has the Denton community helped the success of this company?
It's been great. We haven't had any type of negativity towards us. It's actually, you know, been very, very embracing, you know, especially here on the college campus, but even just in Denton in general. So it's been really good. It's been great. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mark, for speaking with us, and that's all.
Thank you, Paisley. Well, that wraps things up for us today. Thank you for joining us. We will be back with more business news in 2 weeks. Until then, it's business as usual.